Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're watching In Depth
on Now You Know.
So this is a story that Jesse and I don't really want to have to cover on In Depth. We'd rather talk to you about electric cars and solar and other fun things. This is a Twitter war that's going on between Elon and a reporter named Lynette Lopez.
It's kind of a one-sided war, and it's kind of a lot to do about nothing. Basically.
I'm going to disagree. I think that let's get into what it is, first of all. So Lynette Lopez is a journalist with Business Insider, and on June 4th, she wrote a story about Tesla, claiming that their raw materials waste and their production nightmares were causing the company a lot of problems. And it turns out that her source was most likely Martin Tripp, who you'll remember from an In-Depth a few weeks ago was the maybe saboteur of that was an employee that worked for Tesla, and then either was disgruntled because he got passed over for a job, or for whatever reason, was giving secrets, it seems, to this reporter.
Right.
Now, Elon and his team interviewed Martin Tripp and asked him questions about what he was doing over a 2-day period, and Elon believes that Lynette Lopez was someone that he was giving secrets to. Right. And in fact, he believes, from what Martin Tripp told him, that Lynette was paying for that information.
Right, or compensating him in some way.
So then again, on July 3rd, Lynette wrote a story, and this time it was about a break and roll test. Now, what is a break and roll test, Jesse?
Basically, you put the car on a dyno, and you run it, and then you stop it.
So this footage we're seeing here is a typical dyno, right? It's something you drive the car onto. It tests whether you can get up to speed in enough time, whether things are aligned, and so forth. So according to this article that she wrote, she claimed that the break and roll test was basically shut off. They weren't using that test anymore for the Model 3, probably so that they could get their production numbers up faster. According to Tesla, their spokesperson, Dave Arnold, he said, to be extremely clear, we drive every Model 3 on our test track to verify braking, torque, squeal, and rattle. There are no exceptions. So Tesla's take on this was that it was perfectly fine not to use this test if they didn't want to.
Right. What they said was that the test was redundant.
Elon did not like the fact that these, secrets were being leaked from Tesla, and that they were either incorrectly being told or that she was paying for them. And so he started tweeting out his dissatisfaction, shall I say, with Lynette. Here's what he wrote. S. Padaval said, "This tweet from Lynette did not age well." And Elon responded, "Lopez Lynette has published several false articles about Tesla, including a doozy where she claimed Tesla scrapped more batteries than our total S, X, and 3 production number, which is physically impossible."
Then S. Padaval said, "Someone told me her coverage/behavior changed after an interview with Jim Chanos. Coincidence?"
And Elon responded, "Sounds very sketchy if true. Lopez Lynette, is it possible you're serving as an inside trading source for one of Tesla's biggest short sellers? An ex-Tesla employee just went on record formally claiming you bribed him and he sent you valuable Tesla IP in exchange. Is this true?"
So here he's talking about Martin Tripp.
So then someone tweeted at Elon, "Hey, Lopez Lynette, your silence is deafening. Shouldn't take much to deny such allegations, no?" And then Elon said, "Indeed, very simple question. To be specific, Lopez Lynette, did you compensate or promise to compensate Martin Tripp for inside information about Tesla? Did he, under that inducement, provide you with exaggerated negative info which you printed but turned out to be untrue? At Lopez Lynette, you stated publicly that you see eye to eye with Chanos, the most prominent short seller of Tesla. Have you ever provided him with material non-public information about Tesla?" So then Allison Chantel, who is the editor of Business Insider, she said, "Business Insider does not compensate its sources. It did not do so here, and we stand by Lopez Lynette's reporting on Tesla. Our invitation for Elon Musk or anyone from his team to further discuss what has been reported and the state of Tesla stands."
Elon responded by saying, "Are you 100% certain that Business Insider stands by Lopez Lynette and supports everything she's done? Why won't Lopez go on record saying that she never offered Tripp anything for inside info or asked him to break his confidentiality agreement by taking detailed video of Tesla IP?"
So then the story gets more complicated because there's people coming out to defend both sides, right? Obviously, there's tons of people who are defending Elon, and there's tons of people who are backing Lynette Lopez. One of those people backing her is Felix Salmon, who works for Slate. He wrote the following story in Slate magazine where he really I think, was very one-sided with his reporting. Instead of just stating what happened back and forth, he went on to say things like this. But more importantly, he, Elon, needs to grow up fast. He's the CEO of a $50 billion corporation, and I've seen toddlers with more maturity. Lopez is a very, very tough reporter. So we did a little digging because it really did seem one-sided, and we found out that Felix Salmon is Facebook friends with Lynette Lopez. And my thinking is this. It's fine to be friends with someone, but if you're going to write a story about Elon and Lynette, then you should be unbiased. And your editor should say to you, are you friends with Lynette?
Right.
Then I don't think you should write this story.
Right.
Or if you do write this story, let's keep it as unbiased as possible.
Right. So there's basically 2 points here. One, that, we don't know if Lynette Lopez paid Martin Tripp for any of the information that he gave her. And now, of course, Business Insider claimed that Business Insider did not compensate
Their sources.
That does not mean that Lynette Lopez could not have gone to Jim Chanos, said, hey, I am going to get some information from somebody, and then, you give me some money, and I'll give him some money.
Oh, because let's not forget Jim Chanos and many other short sellers. This is common practice. You take a journalist who doesn't get paid very much. They report for you, and then eventually you put them on the payroll and you make them an investigative detective for you so that you can go investigate different companies. They have the skills to get information from people. So that happens a lot. So it's conceivable here that was Lynette's plan. I'll give Jim some good information. He will then hire me.
And this is insider trading. If this were true. Now, we don't know if this were true. There was no hard evidence that we have. Now, Elon has some evidence of his own because he actually interviewed Martin Tripp when he got caught for this very thing.
And I want to point out, there's a lawsuit going on right now between Tesla and Martin Tripp, and so it's very likely that a lot of this information is going to come out in a courtroom. Right. Under deposition, under oath. So we're probably over the next year or so going to find out some information about what really did happen.
Right.
And I just want to point out that, yes, you could look at it as Elon bullying someone or Elon stalking someone. I suppose you can. He has a lot of followers and he has a lot of power on Twitter. But on the other hand, he's used it, I think, very responsibly. He's asking questions. He's asking for answers from people. And so far, he hasn't gotten any answers from Lynette. On the other side, you have a lot of journalists who I think are very scared right now because if their journalistic methods are revealed, they'll look a lot like what Lynette did, which is you're a journalist, you go to a company, you offer an employee either, some money or you offer that you're going to use their story, and then you get information out of them, and then you print a story which may or not be true, may not be the proper context, and could cause a stock price to fall. That's how pretty much the media gets their stories. I mean, otherwise it's very hard to get information, right?
So you have to wait for a press release, and that might be, not the story that you're looking for.
Right. And, from Martin Tripp's point of view, he's like, I was a whistleblower. I was telling the world that Tesla was doing these awful things. Well, I haven't heard that Tesla did anything awful with this information. Right. Everything that he said they did wrong, like, oh, they didn't do this wheel test, Tesla's saying, well, that's not a safety problem. That doesn't affect anything.
Right. And it's not redundant. And again, the DOT does not stipulate that you must do this. Right. So it is not like they were intentionally skipping something that they actually were mandatorily had to do, and they were making up for it in another test because this test was redundant.
And if you look at this from hindsight, if you look back at how this all unraveled, it looks very like shorts were trying to get the stock to tumble.
And this is why I say that, this is much to do about nothing. I mean, none of the stories were groundbreaking. None of them were like, oh my gosh, there's a gas engine inside every Tesla. Like that was not the case.
And 3 weeks from now, there won't be a story anymore.
Right.
It just did its job. It drove the stock price down.
Right. And this is not to be against investigative journalism. It's incredibly important that we have that.
Yes.
Right? Because like when VW is cheating on their emissions numbers and, have developed special ways to get around the law, it's important for people to find out about this and for it to be brought to the public's attention.
To me, it's a lot like analysts. We hear from a lot of analysts who have horrible rankings. They're not right most of the time, and yet they get as much press and as much coverage
and screen time
as an analyst who's very good at his or her job.
Right.
What I think that Elon's been talking about with his Pravda idea is that if we can rate journalists, then the good ones will rise to the top, and we'll know that we're getting reporting, oh, this story comes from that journalist with a high rating. I'm going to listen to it.
Right. And you all have this in your head. Okay, right? If you're listening to a certain news source, you're going to know that they're going to be biased in one way or another, right? And so you might take that with a grain of salt. Whereas if you hear it from somewhere else, maybe if you hear it from us, you believe us a bit more than if you were listening to CNBC.
That's right. And the thing is here, we're open. We are telling you that we're biased towards Tesla and towards Elon. Like, we don't hide that fact. We don't pretend we're like this just unbiased news reporting. We're just a YouTube channel that's telling you the way we see things.
Right. But at the same time, we are saying that, like, we don't have all the answers here. We don't know if Lynette Lopez was bribing Martin Tripp. We don't know if Lynette Lopez was performing insider trading with Jim Chanos. We don't know any of that, and we're not saying that that is true, or if it's not true, we're just we're just trying to give you the whole story. We're kind of the communicators to you, our audience. So we hope that you enjoyed it. We hope that you give a like if you like this story, and that you hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. We have a Patreon page. You can use our Amazon affiliate link down below. And thank you so much for watching. Now you know.